This is Sarnia Lambton Daily for Tuesday, April 21st. Good evening, I'm Terry Doyle. The number of people who have recovered from COVID-19 in Sarnia Lambton now sits at more than 1/3 of the overall number of positive cases that have been diagnosed. As of this morning's update from Lambton Public Health, 148 positive cases have been diagnosed since this began, 3 more than Monday's update. Meanwhile, 54 people are considered recovered from the virus. That's up 4 from yesterday. Overall, 14 people have passed away due to COVID-19. A community press conference and virtual public forum was once again held this morning. Various community officials provided updates on the pandemic locally. We are going to spend the next portion of the show bringing you some of that forum.
I just want to say thank you to the majority of the public that have cooperated during this crisis, during this emergency. And to remind people that the City of Sarnia is under a state of emergency and will continue to be, just as the province is. For the minority who don't want to be part of the solution to the virus, your option is really simple. You can either stay 6 feet apart or be 6 feet under. And I especially want to thank the primary control group, which is composed of key city officials, the police chief, the fire chief, the CAO, myself, and others. It's been a long 5 weeks, meeting every day by teleconference to discuss the day before the issues that are happening. I just want them to know the public appreciates you, and you've seen that overwhelmingly with all the emails I've shared with you from the public in the last 24 hours. They understand tough decisions have to be made, and the universal message from the people that understand what COVID is all about is stay strong, stand your ground, don't capitulate. We've got to get to a better place before we start to make decisions to deal with the economic issues that are out there. And I just want to thank for all those people who are on the front line, not just the people that you would normally expect to praise, the healthcare workers who are doing an incredible job, but all those other people out there, from bus drivers to cashiers, who are putting themselves at risk because they want to serve the community, and they're doing it the best that they can. And finally, to everyone in Sarnia Lambton, stay strong, stay home, and we will get through this together.
This is a very stressful time. People are really working together. We have to, as the mayor said, thanks to all those that are doing a great job and keeping us safe. We do have to remember, though, that this is a trying time for everyone. Tensions are high. And I think one of the important messages here, we have to care for each other. We have to send a message out there to be kind. And I think that's what I want to relay today, is to we need people to look after each other mentally as well as health-wise. So we have great teams in the health field looking after us.
In the village, I appreciate what Mayor Bradley said about we're under emergency. In the village, we're surrounded by the trails and the water and the parkland. And I just wanted to have a message that as the weather gets better, people are really flooding outside. And it's concerning. I mean, everybody wants to get out. It's been a long time that feel like we've been cooped up, but we need to ensure that we continue to practice the safe distancing outside as the weather gets better and more people are out there. We don't want to undo all the good that's been done towards getting out of this situation and working towards resolution and easing of restrictions so that we can get to our new normal, whatever that will be. But just a reminder that outside you still need to practice safe procedures.
I think I'm just going to echo what everyone has said. I think the kindness piece is very important. I'm really proud of everybody for getting together and doing this for so long and recognizing that the hardships that come from it are not just related to those who have gotten COVID, but also to their family members and to even people, like every single person is actually affected by this because the public health measures that we've taken affect everyone in different ways. And so I'm really looking forward to hearing a little bit more about the mental health services in the community and the ways that we can make sure that we include thinking about mental health as an overall component of our health as we talk about COVID.
I'd like to thank the community for supporting us. I've been happy that the surge that we've been expecting hasn't been as bad. And that's actually due to the physical distancing and all the public health measures that have been instituted since the pandemic was announced. healthcare workers at the hospital and support staff have been very appreciative of all the work that our community partners have done and everyone else in the city and the county. The number of patients that we've been seeing has been declining, which is really good news. We had a peak of 32 patients about 2 weeks ago, and we're down to about 15 now who are confirmed positive. I want to acknowledge the loss and our condolences to the families of all the patients that we have lost during this fight. But also we have gained some battles, and many of our patients have made it home. Again, as we eventually, and as the governments and public health look into ways to steer us safely out of this emergency, I need to emphasize the physical distancing and the safety measures that we need to maintain, especially as the weather is getting better. About 2 weeks ago, in the midst of this, we had a total of 32 patients who tested positive for COVID, who were ill enough to be admitted to the hospital. And in our ICU, we had seven patients who were quite critically ill on life support. Over the past 2 weeks, the numbers have dwindled, and we're down to 15 positive patients at the hospital. Only one is critically ill in the intensive care unit. Now, many of those patients have improved and went home, but we also have lost some patients along the way. As is being published out there, 50% mortality when someone is ill enough to be in the ICU. So out of all of our ICU patients, half didn't make it. It has been a sad couple of weeks, but also we've had some successes. But the trend is a decline in numbers, which is very encouraging.
So just as the panel has already spoken, the importance of kind of following the expectations, the physical distancing, and staying at home. But the very important piece for us is stay connected. The important piece, prior to COVID, we knew that we were already dealing with a mental health and addiction crisis. We know that it hasn't disappeared. But the people reaching out has reduced, and we know that that's part of the self-isolation and staying more contained. We want to reassure the community that our services are open and available, and we really want you to reach out to the services. So Blue Water Health, through the addictions program in the community, CMHA, the community mental health and addictions, and St. Clair Child and Youth. So those three core partners we've changed a lot to become very virtual, but we're not exclusively virtual. And we really want the community to understand the importance of staying on top of their emotional wellness, well-being, and don't be kind of holding that back until we all are allowed to proceed as usual. It still may be time that we're able to do that, and staying connected and receiving help and support when we need it is most important to kind of having a very large accumulation of that in the end. So just really want to reassure people that services are open and available. Stay connected, and the same comments as the others is being kind to others, being kind to yourself. And we have seen such phenomenal gestures of kindness in our community, and it's extremely warming to see that and to know that the people receiving the acts of kindness, it's fantastic. Also, there is a gift of from the people who are able to give. Many individuals feel that they don't know how to give back, or they want to help, and giving what they have been is really a very helpful gesture for themselves, for their own emotional well-being, knowing that they're also staying connected. So thanks to the community for that. We're used to dealing with very long wait lists and a large demand for people coming in daily. We know that the social isolation has kind of reduced the footprint of individuals coming through our door, and we've had to rearrange our work, our way of connecting with the clients. So it is concerning. It's concerning that that people are not reaching out, potentially feeling that services aren't available. And, again, just making sure that we reinforce that services are available. We really want individuals to reach out now. We are very concerned that there'll be a growing demand, and and not just the demand, but the mental health condition gets worse the longer we hold off on getting help. So really encouraging people to reach out sooner than later. And we know that we're experiencing a major life-changing situation. So I think it's important to recognize that feeling anxious and down and depressed is actually a normal feeling right now. Many of us are adjusting to very unusual circumstances. So just as you described, it now more than ever is an important time to reach to our coping strategies, our positive coping strategies, whether it be exercise, if it's music or reading, certainly moderating the amount of information and news that we're allowing ourselves to be exposed to. We know that we need to switch that off and allow our mindset to switch to things that have more positive emotional contact and content. So important of making sure we're balancing how much we're involved in that type of monitoring of the media. So keeping, staying in contact with others is very important. Connecting with, if right now we're ready to get out our golf clubs, maybe give your golf buddies a call instead or a text. And so some of the normal connections that we're making, we have to find other ways of staying in contact with whatever social groups or support groups that we have.
We've been getting a lot of feedback from residents worried about whether they can actually go into parks or not. And in fact, the green spaces are still open. If you follow the lead of the province and suggested ideas from public health officials as well, it's okay to get out and walk. And as a matter of fact, as a Parks and Rec guy, I'm encouraging people to get out and be fit. It's just a matter of not going into high contact areas, pavilions and benches and playground equipment and things like that. This is a temporary pause. We can't wait to see everybody back out on our playgrounds and back into sports fields and doing all the things we like to do normally. But right now, really and truly, people should be really leaving their houses and going for walks around the house. If you live in close proximity to a park, then it's fine to take a walk through the park. We're just discouraging people from driving there and congregating in any way at those places. So please get out, be fit, be healthy, and we'll all get through this together.
As businesses close, and that's going to happen, as industry shut down, people aren't working, there's going to be an issue of money for the city to operate. So the steps taken by council yesterday were very painful. They were the right decisions. And we will have to take further steps, though, if we don't start to see the sun on the horizon of exiting from this. And again, we're like any person. We live on cash flow. And if our cash flow continues to decrease as people default, can't make their bills, then we'll have to take another look at where we're at. But this gives us some breathing room. And I think I view it this way, that the money that we were cutting yesterday is our contribution to the national economy of taking care of what we can take care. I think it's really important for the municipality to show very clearly that they understand the pain that's out there in the community, mental health wise, socially, economically. And I think that's why it was a good move on our part to adopt the recommendations from Chris Carter and his management group. But I'd be very surprised if we don't have to go back, delay property taxes further in the collection, and make some other very difficult decisions. Mr. Carter could probably speak to that. We just didn't stop yesterday. He's continuing to talk to all the employees, all the unions about what other steps that can be taken. Because from day one, whatever we do, I want it to be humane. I want it to be fair, because when this is all over, the employee group will still be working for us. But I want them to know that we're on their side.
We don't have a crystal ball. We don't know what's going to happen necessarily tomorrow or 30 days from now. So it was staff's intention and also the senior management team to be proactive, provide a financial recommendation to council where we could foresee savings within their organization. Not saying that these projects will not be reconsidered in the 2021 budget, they will be, but we believe this year we can actually put them on a deferral, cancel them, recoup some of those funds so that we are in a strategic position financially, hopefully when we come out of this unfortunate situation.
There's a lot of mixed feelings out there, right? Our staff's coming in every day. We're looking after patients. Some of them, we don't even know if they have the virus or not. Some of them we do. The patients themselves are going through a lot of emotional turmoil. They're ill. And there's also, given the changes and restrictions of visitors, they don't have access to their families, which is very difficult. So it's a double whammy. You're sick and you can't see your loved ones. And it reflects on the staff as well, because when you have families coming in, it makes the patients feel a bit better. it makes the staff feel a bit better. You have people to talk to and help you with alleviating some of their mental health and anxieties and things like this. When I say mixed emotions, it's because at the end of all this, when we send someone home, everybody's elated and happy that our treatments are working, patients are doing well, and when they finish their shifts and go home, they have a good sense of purpose and a good outlook. On the flip side, when we lose a patient, it's very emotionally distressing. It's very saddening. It's heartbreaking, and on top of it, you don't have the families there to support the patient and the staff, actually. And you can't also offer your services to support the families who are grieving. So it has been a very weird kind of situation. We all understand what's being done in terms of protecting the public and accessing, in terms of restricting access. But we are actually, even as staff and physicians and nurses, are not comfortable with the concept because we're used to having that interaction. And our patients don't like it, we don't like it, but we know why it's being done. So it's been quite a roller coaster, up and down. And then don't forget that our own staff, nurses, RTs, support staff, house cleaning, physicians, we're also going home at the end of the day, and we do not want to bring any illnesses back home with us, right? So I know many of our respiratory therapists, for example, or nurses, are not seeing their kids for a while. They're living in different parts of the house. They're living in a basement. We're on week 6 into this, right? So the whole community is suffering. We're all in the same boat, and hopefully, you know, I'm very encouraged by the fact that the numbers are coming down and that the surge itself hasn't been as bad as expected, as per latest data yesterday from the province and the government. And actually, that shows that whatever public health and the government has done is working. Otherwise, we would have been in a situation like our neighbors across the border. And we've seen a lot of horror scenes in New York and Detroit, etc. So yeah, it's been tough. And just like the rest of you, all of us are looking forward to seeing that sun again at the end, the light at the end of the tunnel.
Stay tuned. When we come back, we'll get an update on what is happening in the local agriculture industry on Sarnia Lambton Daily on your TV. Welcome back. We have heard from many industries and organizations throughout Sarnia Lambton during this pandemic with updates on how they are coping. Agriculture is a big part of Sarnia Lambton, so we wanted to check in with that sector. Joe Dickenson runs Dickenson Farms in Oil Springs and joins me by telephone right now. Joe, what are you seeing in the industry right now?
To steal from Charles Dickens, it's the best of times and it's the worst of times. Those of us that are set up for direct sales to consumers are being run off our feet right now, and our problem is keeping inventory in stock. However, those that are relying on processing of any sort are having problems with bottlenecks when it comes to their processing plants being able to take their crop in. They're getting their prices slashed in some cases, and meanwhile, those prices aren't showing up in the stores. So it's really causing an issue with the whole supply chain.
I know there are a lot of chains in the industry when it comes to getting product from the farm to the consumer. If one part of that chain gets upset, does that really cause a domino effect?
It absolutely does. I mean, we heard about the dairy farmers there where they had to dump milk because the plants weren't set up to do anything on a smaller scale. And when they lose all those big industrial contracts, like whether it be restaurants or schools or that sort of thing, and they're trying to go from bulk down to individual packaging, they just can't retool on the fly. And we have some massive problems in the beef industry here as well.
We are joined by Joe Dickenson of Dickenson Farms in Oil Springs by telephone. Now, Joe, we hear from government officials every day. What can the government do to help this industry?
One of the things that we're pushing for at the beef farmer side of things is that we'd really like to have what's called a set-aside program. So farmers normally would be shipping a certain number of animals over the course of weeks or months or what have you. And what we're asking for is for those farmers to be paid to hold on to those animals until we can get through this supply glut, so that there's a more consistent feeding of the processing industry. That's one of the big asks that we've been talking about from the Ontario side of things on the beef side. Another is to improve our risk management programs. We've had farmers voluntarily sign into these programs for a long time, and they've been partially funded at the provincial level, but the feds haven't come on board. So we're asking for the province to make more of a commitment to these programs, and for the feds to put in their portion as well.
For people not familiar, tell us about Dickenson Farms and how things are going right now.
So I'm a birth to beef operation in Oil Springs. I have about 65 cows, and I raise all of my cattle right to market weight. I also have a bit of a partnership with the Tin Fiddler in Sarnia, as well as the Refined Fool, where I'll take spent grains from their brewing process to feed the animals here. And then last year I moved about 18 to 19 animals through the freezer trade. This year we're already surpassed 20, as in pre-booked or sold, going into July. So the demand has absolutely skyrocketed. And thankfully, my parents also have a beef farm at Sarnia. And so once we run out of cattle that are market weight at my place, we can switch to their farm as well to start filling orders.
Now, Joe, it sounds like because you do have direct-to-consumer access, that makes things not too bad for you and quite busy, but I've got to think there are challenges as well.
Well, that's exactly right. Everything's a little bit more challenging if you have something break down, if you're trying to get parts, and even if you have an animal that needs some veterinary assistance, trying to make sure that everybody's safe in that circumstance as well. You also want to be a little bit cautious, because it wouldn't take much for one of our local processing plants here in Lambton County to be shut down. And that's a pretty scary situation, because we're really lucky to have some good ones here. And if one of them had to slow down, that would definitely cause some issues as well.
Well, thanks for joining us, Joe. That was Joe Dickenson of Dickenson Farms in Oil Springs. We'll take a break. More to come on Sarnia Lambton Daily on your TV. That's going to do it for Sarnia Lambton Daily for this Tuesday, April 21st. We are with you every weeknight beginning at 6 o'clock here on Your TV for the latest on what's happening in the region. You can also check us out on the Your TV Sarnia website, Facebook, or YouTube pages beginning at 7. That's all for tonight. I'm Terry Doyle. We will see you tomorrow.